The year was 1978, and Reese was the hottest movie.
Reese's Pieces first hit the candy shelves.
And a gallon of gas cost us less than 75 cents.
And in August of 1978, this is what we were watching on the news then. It had been a year since the capture of the notorious Son of Sam serial killer. It was a reign of terror that New Yorkers would not soon forget.
A year ago tonight, a city that lived in fear breathed a sigh of relief. It came with the news of the arrest of a short, pudgy postal worker by the name of David Berkowitz, the Son of Sam. He was finally caught up in one of the biggest dragnets ever put together by the New York City Police Department. John Miller reports on the effort to catch one man.
The investigation was led by Chief of Detectives John Keenan, Deputy Inspector Timothy Dowd, and Captain Joseph Borelli, his second in command. Along with them, a score of detectives, including Detective John Filatico and Edward Zigo, two veteran cops from a Brooklyn homicide zone who investigated the shooting death of Stacy Moskowitz. There were other heroes, too, but they didn't know they were heroes till it was all over, like the two diligent cops who wrote the parking ticket through which police traced Berkowitz, and Craig Glassman, a volunteer for the Westchester County Sheriff's Office, a neighbor of the Son of Sam's who helped police in the capture. But 1 year later, where are the heroes? Chief of Detectives John Keenan retired, so has Inspector Dowd, the leader of the investigation. Now he works for the Inspector General's office at the Department of Health and Hospitals. Captain Borelli was promoted and now works for the Manhattan District Attorney's office. John Filatico was transferred to a different squad, but Detective Edward Zigo is still working in the 10th Homicide Zone. Officer Michael Cattaneo and his partner Jeff Logan were the two cops who gave the ticket to Berkowitz, which led to his capture. They were given upgrades in pay. Cattaneo is still in the 62nd Precinct, while his partner was transferred to Queens. Craig Glassman, the deputy sheriff from Yonkers, is still alive and well and trying to put together a book about his role in the case. But perhaps it is Detective Zigo, back in his Brooklyn homicide squad, who remembers that day best.
Wherever I go, people recognize me and they want to know little tidbits about the case, and they're forever coming over and saying, I recognize you, I know who you are. And
From your pictures in all the newspapers.
yes, and you know, I've enjoyed that. It's been quite nice for me, you know. And it's been challenging because on every case I work on since then, people recognize me and then they say, well, it's going to be solved because you're working on it, you know, and it sort of puts me to the task all the harder, you know.
Must give you a good feeling.
Oh, it certainly does.
It's ironic that many of the detectives and police officers who worked together so closely for so long to break the Son of Sam case have been split up since the case was solved. Detective Edward Zigo's partner was transferred to another squad. The partner of the police officer who wrote the ticket that eventually led to the case being cracked was also transferred to a precinct in Queens. But some people were brought together by the case. Robert Violante, the last surviving victim of the Son of Sam, and Judy Placido, an earlier surviving victim, now work together at a crime victims' rights organization. From Coney Island, John Miller, Channel 5 News.
1978 was the year New York got tough on juvenile criminals.
Good evening. Mayor Koch did something today he has not done before. He spent some time at the Spofford House in the Bronx. That's the institution containing a lot of youngsters accused of crimes. The mayor's visit there was unannounced, but Channel 5 News got wind of it, and Gabe was waiting when the mayor arrived.
The mayor zipped in with key staff members and advisors. They came to meet an emergency. What to do about the new state law that takes effect Friday, September 1st. It's part of the anti-crime package pushed through by Governor Hugh Carey, a measure providing that for serious crimes such as murder, robbery, rape, sodomy, 13, 14, and 15-year-olds would be tried not in family court but in the adult criminal courts, and if convicted, these youngsters would face heavier penalties than ever before. And what's the problem about this law? The problem is it hasn't been decided yet where these young accused criminals will be housed. The law was passed weeks ago, but the officials involved didn't get around to providing the space needed. So that's why, with the Friday deadline approaching, Koch's hurry-up visit, his first to Spofford House. He was escorted by Director Reese, who resigned early this summer, complaining about inadequate support for Spofford. Koch persuaded Nixon to stay a while longer. To house juveniles accused of major crimes in secure facilities would require converting 2 of Spofford's 11 dormitories. Bars would have to be installed on the 54 windows in each dorm. One dorm to house boys, the other girls. The only other alternative, to put the youngsters with older prisoners on Rikers Island. Spofford has had major security problems in the past. Most recently, on July 30th, 4 young men wielding guns broke into Spofford to take out a 15-year-old prisoner. What's the mayor's view of where serious juvenile criminals should be placed?
I came here today with Commissioner Ben Ward, with Commissioner Nixon here, to go through the institution to see whether we can get this place ready, 2 dormitories in time to handle them on Friday.
Can you?
I'm still not convinced, and tomorrow I'm having some other people look at this. They'll give me a report by noon, and then I'll decide whether they come here on Friday or whether they go out to the remand shelter on Rikers Island until this place can be made secure. We're talking about a very special group of youngsters who have been charged with very heavy crimes. And I want to make sure that when they're incarcerated here, which is what they will be, that they cannot break out. For me, paramount is security of the public. I don't want a 13-year-old murderer breaking out of here.
It's estimated it will cost thousands of dollars to put bars on the windows of the 2 dorms in the next couple of days, the 2 dorms that will be needed to put this program into effect here. On the other hand, it would cost thousands of dollars to provide the staff and other facilities if the program is set up on Rikers Island. So the mayor has a dilemma. Either way, the new state law, with its harsh treatment of juveniles, is going to cost the city money. This is Gabe Pressman, Channel 5 News at Spofford House.
Arson was a serious issue for the city back then, and false alarms caused major headaches for firefighters and neighborhoods.
Admittedly, this city has many problems, but 2 of its major problems are arson and false alarms. And today, Mayor Koch signed into law a bill making the arson task force created last year a permanent city body. Arson and false alarms combine to make the life of a New York fireman the busiest of any fireman in the world. There are more responses here for fire alarms than in the next 10 largest cities in the nation combined. Christopher Jones has more.
New York City firemen are a special breed. Ask anyone who knows them. Ask their wives and children. Ask seasoned newsmen. Ask the people they've saved. Ask the neighborhood kids. Ask the police. Ask the firemen themselves. They'll all tell you, firemen are different. They like to work. The harder they work, the more they like it. They believe their job is important, and that's why so many followed their fathers into the department, and that's why even now, when times are really tough, their proudest moment is likely to come when their sons follow them into the job. And if firemen like it when they work hard, they must love working at the 19th Battalion in the Bronx. Ladder Company 33 and Engine Company 75 work out of an old firehouse on Jerome Avenue. The figures show they are among the busiest firemen in the city. Unfortunately, a lot of their business is false alarms.
We always assume it's a fire. And that's the problem. See, every time we hear an alarm, our adrenaline rate goes sky high, our heart rate goes sky high, and we're keyed for a fire. And when we get there, there's a tremendous letdown. So this is the problem, I think, rather than the other way, that we're developing a feeling of apathy, where we go the other direction.
The 3 engine companies in this immediate area are the 3 busiest engine companies in the city of New York, and it's mainly due to heavy fire work and heavy false alarm work. Our engine here, 75 engine, in the month of June responded to 1,081 alarms in 1 month, which is unbelievable. You know, 5 years ago they maybe did 200 runs in a month. And of course it's proportionate the work increases too.
Today, in the course of an afternoon, the men of the 19th Battalion were busy with real fires. Tonight, they'll be tired. But some of them will have to work another shift because there just aren't enough men on the job to cover without overtime assignments. When we went up to do our story about the men in the 19th Battalion, we thought we would talk to more of the men as they sat around and waited for an alarm. You're not going to see any of those interviews because they did not sit around. The Bronx still has a way of keeping a fireman very busy. Christopher Jones, Channel 5 News.
A newspaper blackout hit the city when all 3 of New York's major papers were shut down when pressmen went on strike.
Good evening. The newspaper pressmen have been threatening to do it all week, and tonight they did it. All 3 of our city's newspapers are virtually shut down. The union said it would strike if the Daily News posted new work rules, which would cost a lot of jobs. And earlier this evening, the rules went up, the workers went out. The pressmen alone could not shut down the papers, but they have the backing of all the other unions, from reporters to delivery men, at all three papers. The head of the Publishers Association is saying they didn't want to strike, and under the new rules that were posted, no regular press room workers would be laid off. But the union didn't see it that way and says the publishers wanted the strike.
They posted the wake rules, and we told them we'd strike if they posted them. They posted them, we struck.
And you're prepared to stay out here?
Until.
I have complete faith in our president, Willie Kennedy, and he'll do right by us. He's not out to hurt us. We're not out to hurt anybody. We have to make a living. We have to live. And these people want to kill us. That's the end of it. They just want to take 50% of all the people that work here and do away with them. They don't care about seniority or anything else. They just want to take 50% of people, regardless of where you work, and do away with you. No matter what they're telling you, that's what they want.
How long will you stay out here?
Till we get a settlement that we can live with.
A federal mediator tried to hold off the walkout for at least another day, but both sides were hot. The union said it wouldn't wait any longer. We're told it might be a while before tempers cool and both sides get back to the table. This is the first newspaper blackout our city has had in 15 years.
And finally, let's take a look at what the Knicks and Yankees were up to on August 29th, 1978.
Good evening, I'm Bill Mazur. Last night, I told you that the New York Knicks were going to have a major news conference at noon today. I mentioned it would probably be the coming of Marvin Webster. Well, promptly at noon, at the Garden's Hall of Fame room, Sonny Werblin spoke.
Oh, we all know the reason we're here, which is to announce the signing of Marvin Webster with the New York Knickerbockers.
Marvin, you weren't able to do it with Seattle last year. You've got better horses here in New York. Will you win the whole thing this year?
Well, I feel like this, regardless of what team you're on, if you got the guys that are willing to go out there and win a ball game, had the coaches going in the right direction, and you give it 100%, I feel like you got the capabilities to go all the way.
But you have no regrets about Seattle, no matter of conscience or anything like that?
Well, I couldn't say that because, you know, I was in a place for a year. You get attached to the place, you get attached to the people, and you have a lot of friends there, and it's just hard to, you know, to say no to them. But it's come a time in your life when you have to make a decision which you don't have no regrets in making it, but you have to do it, you know, because it's the right thing. You feel it's the right thing to do.
Would you rather have had Walton?
No. Frankly, Webster's been our #1 choice all of the time, perhaps so because of the fact that we knew that he was a free agent and that we could negotiate with him. But there's a great deal of difference in the time availability, too, because I frankly don't think that Walton will be playing the early part of the season.
And that is the story in this framework of time. Tomorrow or the day after or someday after, we will learn who the Knicks will have to give up for Webster. Now, the conjecture is that it will be Lonnie Shelton. I think Seattle is crazy if they don't try to get Bob McAdoo. Now back to baseball. The Yankees hosted California again tonight. They had a 3-2 lead with 2 out in the top half of the 9th inning when Sparky Lyle gave Joe Rudy the kind of pitch he couldn't turn down. He hit it in the right field seats. It tied the game at 3, and that's the way she stands right now in the top of the 11th inning. Don't turn. Boston 10, Seattle 5. That's in the 8th inning of play. These are finals now. Baltimore beat Oakland 6-2. Milwaukee beat Cleveland 6-0. Detroit beat Minnesota 4-2. Carew and hitless in 4 at-bats. Chicago 5-1 over Kansas City in the 7th. Toronto 3-0 over Texas in the 5th.
And that was the news then.